We are live in the Empowered Mom Studios, and today's topic is VBAC after multiple cesareans. Specifically, I go with VBAC3C because this is the one that is most common with my clients. I've also had some VBAC2C clients, and I had some friends who had a VBAC3C. What you're going to need to understand, though, is that VBAC is different from VBAC after multiple cesareans. First of all, with VBAC, you're already fighting an uphill battle. There's a lot of hospitals that say, oh, we don't do VBAC, or they have VBAC restrictions. There's also a lot of fear with VBAC, and then you also have that feeling that's like you didn't get your natural birth before. Maybe you were tricked out of it. Maybe you were told it wasn't possible. Maybe they gave you an induction, and then you ended up having a traumatic C-section from that. Whatever the reason, you need to understand that now that you have had a cesarean, and more than one at that point, you've got more trauma that you need to deal with. So the first thing I do with my clients is we look at first, how long has it been since your last C-section? So you want to ask yourself that question. The next thing is you need to recognize that there may be some internalized trauma, and there may be some moments where you might have even accidentally gaslit yourself, or the system is gaslighting you, or society is gaslighting you into being okay with your C-section. Now, this is done not always intentionally. We have a culture of fear. We have a culture of misinformation. This is why the empowered birth method is so powerful, because it first helps you get rid of all those old stories, because fish can't see the water that they swim in. You might want to check out some of my other videos that I've done on my YouTube channel. Again, the links are inside of my bio. I also talk about this inside my book, Your Empowered Birth. So the first example I ever received of a mom that had a VBAC after 3 cesareans was when I was a birth advocate, and I was just a new birth advocate. I hadn't really heard all of the stories in the community yet. I'd basically gone into my birth, gotten screwed over. My friend Christine also got screwed over in an even worse way, and we were good and mad about it enough that when we found Dawn Thompson, who's now running Birthify, she was with Improving Birth. She had founded that grassroots organization. I found Improving Birth. I'm like, I want to have a rally. I want to get this message out into the community. And we put on this rally. We were in the park, and this point is when one of the moms in our community came to see us. She had been following us. She hadn't commented or anything. We didn't even know about her until she showed up, and she knew who we were. And we're like, wait a minute, we just started this Facebook page a few months ago. And she's like, I know, I've been following all of your stuff. You've been sharing really good content. And I had a VBAC after 3 C-sections. And I'm older. I had gestational diabetes. And like, she did it. She had her VBAC. But it wasn't without a lot of having to fight for it. Now, I talk about Wendy inside of my book, Your Empowered Birth. So if you're not familiar with her story, it is inside the book. I am eventually going to do an interview with her. I mean, she's busy and everything. She's got her own life. But she used to be the spokesperson for VBAC until Christine ended up taking her power back and having her home birth after cesarean that was unplanned. So she'd planned to go to the hospital because she didn't want that fight on her hands. She knew the system wasn't going to let her even try. And then she ended up taking her power back. So everything that I basically teach, it's not theory. Like, these are real stories from moms that have used this method or showed me things that I hadn't seen before, so that I was able to then take that and be like, oh, that's what she did. In Wendy's case, nobody would let her try in our entire health authority. And you may have even experienced that, where you're sitting there and you're like, nobody's letting me have a VBAC after multiple C-sections, so I have to have another C-section because nobody's going to let me try. This did not stop Wendy. Okay? This did not stop her. She went to multiple different OBs, and they all told her the same thing. We don't do that. You're going to have another C-section. She's like, no, I'm not. They're like, but that's the standard of care. And she's like, I don't want standard of care. Now, she had a very supportive partner. So this is why I talk about having the right support. Her partner was more of a fierce stand for her getting that VBAC than she herself was. So she was determined, and her partner would reinforce that. She did not have a right facilitator because everybody in the health authority was saying no. Wendy ended up traveling 2 hours into the city to be able to have her VBAC. She found somebody within the Power to Push campaign, and that is how she did it. However, one of the pieces of her story that's like, she had basically hired this doctor to support her, but then the overseeing OB that she'd been with before ended up saying, oh no, she's going to have a C-section, and canceled everything. She said no, she's not going to be birthing at that hospital. She's going to be scheduling a C-section. So when Wendy actually showed up in labor, the staff were surprised. They're like, well, we thought you were going to have a scheduled C-section. She's like, no, I'm having a VBAC. I never signed off on having a C-section. So, there were a lot of traps that Wendy could have fallen into if she didn't already have a strong sense of herself. And I believe that because Wendy was the kind of person who didn't take crap from anyone, and she also kind of helped me when I was still a young fledgling mom who was still kind of learning the ropes of motherhood, to not take crap from anyone, that is how she was able to do it. She didn't want to fight. She didn't want to beg, and she didn't want to compromise. And Wendy was the one that basically showed me just how much a mom who wants to have a VBAC after multiple cesareans has to go through to jump through those hoops to do it. Now, I have other videos on my channel as well, and come the fall, I'm going to be doing an additional series of my deep dive masterclasses. I'm almost finished with the natural birth traps, so you'll want to check out those videos on my channel. There's also going to be the cesarean traps series, and I have a lower level version of that you can go and binge. It's about 5 videos, and this is what another client of mine actually discovered, and then that's when she's like, I want to work with you. And she went and she did it. She had a VBAC after 3 C-sections when her entire health authority had also said it wasn't allowed. Now, names have been changed because she's still dealing with some things where she'd need to do some legal stuff, so names are protected. So I call her Dee Dee, and you can find some of her story inside of my videos on the natural birth traps. One of them that you'll want to check out is the castor oil, because this is also part of Dee Dee's story. And there's others as well. Like Dee Dee has her daughter has finally turned 2. So she's in that stage where she may end up doing an interview. And at the same time, we need to protect her for legal reasons, because there was a whole bunch of stuff that went down during her labor that is incredibly unethical, and she deserves to file a complaint on it. So you need to understand that the system will absolutely push back, and society will absolutely push back. And VBAC after multiple cesareans is possible, because the default exit for your baby is physiological birth. However, if your medical team is not even going to let you try, they aren't even going to let you get into labor on your own, they're just going to schedule that C-section, then yeah, that's going to cause more problems long term. And Jen Campbell actually has articles on VBAC after multiple cesareans, so you're going to want to check that out as well. Dawn Thompson is an excellent resource for just understanding your options, and she's got a lot of resources that I personally drew from when I was crafting my method. So you really need to have that right education. You need to also get past fear, because there's a lot of fear around VBAC. There's a lot of fear around VBAC after multiple cesarean. If you see it in the comments, you're going to see a lot more fear and misinformation than you are the truth. However, there are safe spaces where my audience members will say, I had a VBAC after multiple cesareans and I did it unassisted, or I did it at home, or I did it with a midwife, or I did it in this hospital using your method. And you know, the thing is that I want you to be able to take my method and apply it to your own situation. So I don't work with everyone who comes to me because the coaching itself, it takes a lot of back end, okay? This isn't just me showing up and being a virtual doula at the birth. I do a lot of groundwork with my clients. And the reason why they have these success results is because it's mostly the mindset and understanding the unique difficulties of their situation with the system. And then I also bring in those extra educational resources. So if you're going to do the do-it-yourself path, you want to find those additional resources. Go check out Dawn Thompson. Go check out Jen Camel. Go check out some of my other videos on VBAC. Because what this allows you to do then is you can start to see where you could be falling into those traps. And I do have a mini guide on my website. It's called the Cesarean Traps Guide. You just go to my start guide, empoweringmomsbirth.com/start guide. Go check out the VBAC section because it's in there. And then there's the 22 things that you, or I think it's 22 or 21 things that you want to avoid, like for the cesarean traps. And there's also another guide that tells you about how to have an empowered VBAC. So recognizing this though is that you've got a lot more against you because you've had multiple C-sections, and there are risks to that. You could very well have one of those uterine windows and you won't know it. However, this is why we tune into our intuition and then we make our plan. Okay, so you tune into your intuition, and if something doesn't feel right, then you go in and you get that extra support. But if you still feel like you can do this, you can. So I don't give medical advice, and I don't tell my clients what to do. I'm really following their lead. And I've had VBAC moms who have decided, you know what, I feel safer birthing in the hospital. And I've had VBAC moms that are like, I want to stay as far away from the hospital as humanly possible. And I have the moms that started off at home and then later were like, you know, my intuition is telling me I'd like to just have that extra layer in the hospital, even getting the epidural to help with the pain, to be able to relax, because, you know, sometimes that helps. Sometimes that does help. However, being automatically forced into a C-section just because you had multiple C-sections, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's ethical. I don't think that that is informed consent. And you deserve to have all of the facts and all of the options. So if you have any questions about VBAC, if you are looking to have a VBAC after multiple cesareans, definitely reach out to me. This is the thing that I really love to help moms in reclaiming their birth. A lot of my clients, as I mentioned, they have either had one cesarean or multiple cesareans. Even though I've never had a cesarean myself, this seems to be what is most coming in. And every single mom who has come to me who's wanted to have a VBAC has at least been able to go into labor and experience that labor trance, even if they ended up choosing a C-section or something happened where they were bullied into a C-section, because that's happened too. It's one of the unfortunate side effects of our birth culture and medical system. And this is why I'm very intentional about looking at the traps so that I can continue to warn you against them. Because the more I've been doing this work, the more I see what's going on. The more I look out in the mom groups, the more I see what traps people are falling into. So I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm not telling you that you can have a VBAC, absolutely no issues. What I am going to say is that if you want to attempt a VBAC, if you want to plan a VBAC, you're more than likely going to have a higher chance of success if you're following the empowered birth method and if you're getting the right information and you have the right people to support you in that. And there's not a lot of support out there for moms who want to have a VBAC after multiple cesareans. So this is again why I do these videos. This is why I have the empowered birth method. This is why I wrote my book, Your Empowered Birth. It was really when I found out about Wendy, and she had come to me way back in 2014, and she told me that she had had a VBAC after 3 cesareans. And at that point, I realized just how messed up the system and our birth culture really is, because she ended up doing it. She ended up having her VBAC. So if she can do it with all of those odds against her, then why can't we try? Why can't we at least have the option? So that's what I have for you today. Again, if you want more, if you want the deeper dive, I do deeper dive, more curated master classes with more of a structure to them. These are just my stream of consciousness. But if you want actual structure, I do a deep dive masterclass every single week. It's posted on my YouTube channel. I will be adding transcripts in the future, so you'll be able to also have a actual document, and then I embed links into that. So I basically have this philosophy: information is free and I charge for access to me. I'm a very expensive coach to work with, and my clients have even said like they've saved $30,000 by working with me. And not only that, but they have avoided a C-section. Dee Dee herself has even said, if it wasn't for finding your videos and learning from you, I would have had another C-sections. And you know, that's the thing, is I want you to be validated in your experience. I want you to be recognizing what traps you may have fallen into. Whether you work with me or not, whether you get any of my products or even work with my friends, I want you to have your empowered birth. You deserve it. You don't deserve to get pushed into another C-section just because that's what they kept doing to you. You deserve to have the chance to experience true natural birth the way your body intended it to be, so that you can have that experience and know that your body works. You also deserve to have an easier recovery postpartum. I mean, if you're going for a VBAC after 3 C-sections, you've got other kids to take care of. You don't really want to have to recover from major abdominal surgery. I know that. I know you don't want to have another C-section. So let me help you do that by just giving you that information. As I said, I have my deep dive master classes, and come the fall, I'm going to be doing the deep dive cesarean traps series. I already have a lesser one that's like, it's a lot shorter of the videos. And then these ones that are coming in the fall are going to help you deeper than that. If, however, you are already pregnant and you're just like on a time limit here, then what I'm going to suggest you do is check out some of my older videos on VBAC3C. They do seem to be the very popular ones on my channel. And if you have any trouble finding them, you can always reach out to me. hello@empoweringmomsbirth.com. I'm here to help you. Okay? So thank you so much for watching. Have a happy, empowered birth journey, and I will talk to you soon. Namaste.